What dirty little secret of someone else's have you been dying to tell? 2 co-workers of mine are bumping uglies. Not only did I catch them coming out of an area they had no business being near, but I have also seen them together in public. They're both married, and the dude and his wife have a newborn. I hate these kind of threads, but I always click on them. It is like watching a car accident, but with more sex. My co-worker let another co-worker titty bang her while her husband was away in the army, whilst another co-worker had sex with her friend in the same room. A very prominent business owner once drunkenly confessed to me one night while I was working at a bar that he loved to be dressed like a lady and let his wife peg him. Well, this being a redneck town of 3,000 people, I found it best to let him forget he told me. Late to the thread, but I'll share anyways. I know this girl. Let's call her Carly. Carly was a good friend of my ex. And my ex being the big mouth she has told me this story. Carly was at a party eating for some people. Just standing around when Chode McGee walked up with his intoxicated friends and started hitting on Carly. Carly was bored so she didn't tell Chode and the boys to duck off just yet, but started talking to them. Their conversation somehow got to Chode asking Carly if he could lick her asshole for $45. Carly obviously said no way, that's disgusting. But alas, Chode was persistent. Chode offered more and more money until him and his friends had pooled all their money they had on them for $220. Carly bent over, let Chode fulfill his smelly dream, and then left with her friends as if nothing had happened. Edit. Deeding is designated driving in my area. I assumed everyone knew what it meant. Susie told Timmy that Angela said last week she overheard Erica say she had a crush on Ben, but I just talked to Whitney, who's totally Erica's best friend, and she says Erica doesn't like Ben at all and actually wants Timmy to ask her to go to the dance, which is why she turned down Brock. And Susie totally knows because she was literally in the same study hall with Erica like right after it happened. And now she's obviously trying to sabotage her and Timmy, probably because of that whole thing with Chris. I know a guy who made over $1 million in precious metal recover from old factories and managed to get away without reporting it to the IRS. An old and perpetually single friend of mine just finally got a new girlfriend. I had a weird feeling when I met her so I googled her. Porn. Edit. It saddens me that I can provide proof but I can't give a real person's name out. As I mentioned to someone below, the name she goes by Irel is the name I found online, as well as 3 others. The mystery deepens. Hammy ham. I know a girl who is a stay-at-home wife. She handles the finances and does it very unfairly. She manages it in a way that I'm certain she will be leaving her husband in a few months. Edit. When I get a chance tonight I'll add for clarity. I'll explain what's happening with the intent that you can make sure it isn't happening to you. Edit 2. The explanation. Okay, so they're both clients with separate accounts. The money comes from their bank. Whether it's hers, his or a joint is irrelevant. It gets deposited directly into her portfolio and if she feels like putting some in his, she can. I started seeing red flags a year ago where most of the money was staying in hers, including declining my suggestion of putting some in his tax advantage savings accounts as hers were maxed. Obviously I asked him if he wanted to max his out, but it's not like I can tell him what's going on in her accounts. He just tells me that his wife handles the finance and for things like that I should just talk to her. The firm sends statements out monthly. Whether or not he gets them or knows what he's looking at isn't my business. 80% of their money is now in her accounts and she has been withdrawing $5,000, $10,000 every month consistently for the past 4 while his hasn't had any change. My suspicion is that she is keeping that in cash. On paper, it won't look like she has any money, but he will. Again, a little bit of speculation, but not really. Moral of the story is to never let someone have full control of your finances. If you use the same portfolio manager, don't deposit it into one person's account to distribute at their discretion. Edit 3. For everyone saying I should tell him and asking if I have a legal obligation to telling him, I don't. In fact, I have a legal obligation not to tell him. As for anonymously telling him, what the duck do you think I'm trying to do right now? A vague scenario on an open platform social media such as Reddit is about as close as I can come to disclosing the information to him. Share this around if you want, but at the very least, don't let it happen to you. Edit 4. Gold. The financial planner in me says that there are better ways to be spending money. The personal me says thanks. I'm gonna check out the lounge. Edit 5. I'm tired and ready for bed, but unfortunately I have an addiction to Reddit and keep checking and reading my inbox. If your question is divorce related, ask a goddamn lawyer. I don't know anything about that. I only know what I cannot do. People saying that I owe it to him as his portfolio manager. I can't tell him about where his money is going because I can't prove that it is in any way his money. It comes from a bank account into her portfolio. There is reasonable doubt that it is his. Looking at their incomes, I have every reason to believe that it is his, but I can't go around telling clients about what other clients' portfolios are worth. I don't know the avenue that the money ends up in either of their bank accounts before it gets to their portfolios. I don't manage their lives, their relationships, or what gifts they might happen to receive. For all I really know, her parents are sending her that money and she doesn't want him to know about it. Ask yourself this. Would you want to live in a world where other people know what your portfolios look like to draw conclusions from? Their relationship from my perspective is irrelevant. They're each just clients. The only relevance is the tax advantage part that she doesn't want to utilize. Now I'm going to bed and will answer anything I have yet to answer when I get up. Edit 6. Stop saying fiduciary duty. I do have one, but it doesn't apply here. Fiduciary duty does not constitute me revealing information to other clients based on intuition or speculation. Yes, I believe that she is hiding and keeping the money for herself with the intent to divorce. There is not, however, any hard evidence of this. Maybe she's lost faith in the stock market. Maybe she's moving it slowly to another firm. Maybe she just wants an exotic car. I don't know, and it makes zero difference. Tell him to look at his statements. Gee, why didn't I think of that? Do you guys ask your doctor friends to try using a stethoscope? Maybe you ask your computer science buddies to try turning it off and on again? Obviously I've discussed his accounts with him, but I cannot discuss hers with him. He doesn't see anything wrong with his, and legally speaking, there isn't, and that is all I can do. One night, my boss left to go home. I was still working and heard a phone buzz to my left. I looked over and he had left his phone. I thought the buzzing might be him using his wife's phone to try to find it or something along those lines. I picked it up, and instead of it being my boss, it is an email reply to a M4M Craigslist ad looking for a femboy. That was 3 months ago. A couple weeks later, my boss was talking to a patient on his phone and handed the phone over to me to schedule him for an appointment. When I hit end call, Yahoo instant message popped up asking if he was a thick comer. So I'm pretty certain at this point that my boss is trawling for dudes on the internet. Then a few weeks ago I was using his phone again, and this time the message was addressed to Sir and it said, "From your dress up doll." My boss is a prominent doctor in the community and married to a woman. A fake. I am the only one who knows other than him, and I guess his boyfriend sub whatever. I just hoped his wife knows. Saw my son's jiu-jitsu instructor trying to find trans women on a fetish dating site while his girlfriend was back home in Brazil. That was the day I decided that this is in fact a small world. My stepdad, who is now a Sunday school teacher, confessed one time that during a rough time in his early 20s he sucked a guy's dock for a bump of sugar. I caught my hubby cheating. He doesn't know I know. Keeping that dirty little secret until I get a good plan in order. One friend tried to have sex with their dog. They were also like 10 at the time. Friend of mine has never had a relationship. Claims to never have wanted one. He got real blackout drunk a few years back and told me the loneliness has basically killed him on the inside and he's just waiting to die. He's a good person. Very nice. Humble and respectful. So since he's told me every time he jokes about something or the subject comes up and he says with a cocksure grin that he doesn't want one and that it will never work out. That sentence echoes in my head. He just changes the subject, carries on, and I don't think he remembers telling me that. Yes, OMG. I once walked a very drunk friend home to his dorm room in college, and just before he got into his room, he pooped himself. Like, all over himself and all onto the floor. It was crazy. He was drunk and crying. He was so mortified. But I got him to the toilet, and while he was in there I cleaned it all up. Nobody saw a godman thing. Got him back to his room and he fell asleep immediately. I threw his dirty clothes away in a dumpster on the way home. In the morning he didn't remember any of it, but he was pretty stumped on where his favorite shorts had gone to. I felt so stealthy. Would like to think he would do the same for me. Lol, I guess it's more my secret now. My ex was into cat stuff, but wouldn't admit it. He considered buying me a $75 set of cat ears and a tail butt plug. He wore a pair of anime cat ears I'd bought the one time on purpose. And he had, like, 2 nipples and 4 milk spots, which are little birthmark looking deals that are the beginnings of nipples. I do not. He was weird into cats. My favorite teacher ever was my science teacher through junior high from grade 7-9. He was caring and funny and attractive and so relatable. He was married to the home ec teacher and they had a beautiful baby. Also, he was ducking my best friend for the entire time we were in junior high. This is age 13-15. I didn't want to lose my friend's trust or my favorite teacher, so I never told a soul. Edit. For all you people who are saying I should report him, I never had any real evidence to believe that this was happening except my friend's word. If she was making this all up and I reported him, I would surely ruin him and his family's lives. You guys have definitely put my mind into perspective though. If it was true, it needs to be stopped. I'll talk to my friend and see if she will confess or report what happened. It happened to her after all, not me. Co-worker of mine served time in prison because she watched her boyfriend kill their daughter. She's since had other children and is actually a fantastic mother. I don't know exactly what lead up to her daughter being murdered, but I've kept that from our other co-workers for the past 3 years. My friend doesn't know her older brother is adopted. He is tall, dark, and has green eyes while they are short, light, and brown-eyed. Her whole family pretends he just looks like some faraway aunt. But really, he's from Europe. There are no pictures of him younger than 3 while there are tons of her from birth. I think she knows but is in denial. I know this married guy with kids who travels all the time. Like 10 cities in the last 12 months. Gone for a week at a time. And he never cheats. He just goes to his hotel room at the end of the workday and hangs out on Reddit. Okay, this is me. I'm boring as it. Edit. Holy cow. You can get gold by being boring. Whoa. Thank you. Kind strangers. I guess doing the right thing finally paid off. In an albeit weird way. A close family friend knocked up an 18-year-old girl while he was on and off again with his high school sweetheart. Now the girl stays in the college town and doesn't really go out. They are trying to keep it from getting out and spreading around our town. He comes back every weekend. He's also quite the duck up. He hasn't graduated from college because he's into drugs, bad crowds and get rich quick schemes. She wants to give it up for adoption. His parents are pushing him to keep it, or at least they will adopt it. They are hoping that his older brother or sister will offer to adopt the kid, I think. Either way, everyone is trying to keep it really hush hush. I'm not sure the high school sweetheart knows. I'm not supposed to know. Edit. In all likelihood, she knows. I'm not going to cause family drama when the family needs to be on good terms with him so someone else can adopt the child if he's not going to man up. I only know because someone was having a bad day, was very stressed and a little inebriated. I'm not ruining their family future because some half-wit girl who knows this guy is bad news may or may not know about the baby that in less than 9 months will most likely become public knowledge, especially if anyone in the family adopts it. That he likes to suck D. I'd really like to tell all of our mutual friends, since he took it upon himself to share everything I ever told him with our mutual friends. Sharing his secret would make me just as itty as he is, so I am telling the whole interwebs instead. There's a country music superstar married a woman because she lied about being pregnant, but then lost the baby so he divorced and annulled it. For some reasons, the lying about the baby thing never got out to the media, and not sure why. A former co-worker of mine is a mid-20s lesbian currently engaged to a girl that basically brought her to this area. None of that is the secret. The secret is that she's recently realized she doesn't love her new fiancé. She's actually crushing on her fiancé's best friend but doesn't know what to do. 2 supervisors from that same department played a particularly mean prank on another supervisor. They took the phone of a girl he was crushing on, worked in a sister location, and texted him things that lead him to believe she was interested in him. By the time he figured out what happened, the girl was creeped out and he had to submit paperwork to HR. My friend's dad is 2-timing his fiancée. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm reading all of these as whispers. One of my closest friends cross-dresses secretly and doesn't know I know. He's ex-military and had gone to prison. He's a rough guy who grew up with a man's man kind of image. Fixing cars, farm work, metalworking, working out, etc. Found his ex-dressing kit when I was helping him move. Picked up a box that was under his bed and opened it to make sure it wasn't something fragile before I tossed it in a pile. Fake tits, a bra, panties, some dresses folded up with some of his jeans cut to look like Daisy Dukes. I put it back where I found it and picked up some more boxes to take downstairs. None of us would care if he told us, but it's his secret if he wants to keep it. That my so-called friend was not hanging around with me on those nights she told her husband she was. When my ex was a kid, he used to get down on all fours and let his dog dry hump him. Well, one day the dog slipped all the way in and finished. There, I've said it. I am not dying to tell anyone's secret, but I know many. I'll drop something that the person who told me doesn't care if I let out. A good friend of mine, in her 30s, is dating a 17-year-old, and several other people. She's also married with 4 kids. Had a job where we had to drive occasionally for work. We had to provide abstracts periodically and carry third-party liability. My co-worker buddy came in one day saying he lost his license from too many speeding tickets. Not a huge deal for the company. There are other drivers. One night we are out for drinks and he tells me that the real reason he lost his license is that he is in the country illegally and his US license is now expired. Now, he was dodging some criminal it back home and came up to Canada. Nice guy. He assured me it was for some Mickey Mouse it back home. So I kept his secret. Still up here last I checked. Years ago, one of my coworkers was working as an escort on the side. Another girl I worked with found out and hired her for a threesome with her husband. A recently divorced friend of mine started hooking up with our friend's girlfriend. He got wasted and told me one night. I couldn't say anything because it would literally destroy our entire friend group. I have carried this secret with me for 3 years now. I should also mention the guy being cheated on was generally a huge asshole to his girlfriend, so maybe it was deserved. They're split up now. I hear Winona's got herself a big brown beaver. A good friend had money on a bank account in Switzerland to save taxes, and when the new laws were installed he turned himself in. Yeah, it is all clear now, but I am still his only friend who knows it. A friend from high school now makes a living as a Christian mommy blogger and motivational speaker for churches. She makes good $ portraying them as a picture-perfect family who overcome their sinful beginnings through Christ. They had a shotgun marriage in high school because she got knocked up. They ducking hate each other. She always has at least one boyfriend on the side. He got through college by making her do all his homework and fill him in on a few highlights to fake it through classes. Apparently, his major was more essay oriented than test oriented, so it was easier to have her do all the work. She did that, took care of their kids by herself, and worked full time while being berated by their church for it because she was stepping outside her proper place in the home, while he ran off to play with his friends, smoke meth, and duck hookers. He finally got around to getting an actual job recently, now that he's been out of college for nearly a decade, but he still spends all his money on drugs, hookers, and goofing off. The household gets by on my friend's money. She's an absolute insufferable martyr and is the first one to throw stones at people who put up a less Christian facade than she does. Not told exactly, but my friend has the creepiest loser older brother, and since she has confessed that he molested her as a child, I can't stand the sight of him. She's forgiven him though and has him around a lot. Yuck. I'd love to call him out for being a creep but I never would. I'm sorry, but I had to say it, man. OP is gay. 6 years ago, my fiance's sister Gemma got pregnant and then had an abortion secretly. She was 14 at the time. Afterwards, she struggled with her grades, dropped out of several schools, and changed her friendship groups multiple times. Last year Gemma finally managed to graduate high school from a flexible learning center, but her friendship patterns remain the same, and she can't keep a job. She struggles enormously with her weight and self-esteem issues. She holds everyone at arm's length, choosing to distance herself emotionally, where before she was extremely friendly and outgoing, really valuing her close friends. She also fosters a child, who is the same age as her child would have been had she not had the abortion. This child's mother is still alive and in contact with the child. However, Gemma encourages the child to call her mum. She is overly attached to this child and lives in constant fear of the birth mother taking her baby away. Gemma is mentally unstable and too emotionally immature to properly care for the child, and I really, genuinely fear for both of them. I know Gemma would benefit incredibly from some counseling and support from her family. She has never dealt properly with the loss of her child. I have spoken to her many times but she isn't willing at all to share her secret with the family, as they are very conservative. I don't want to ruin any relationships, but I know if Gemma continues down this path, it could be very destructive. And now there is a child involved. I want what is best for both of them. I don't know what to do. Janice in accounting will eat anything in break room fridge, because she don't give a duck. One night recently my wife and I were hanging out at another couple's house. Both ladies are beautiful and make us two guys feel very lucky. At one very drunken point late in the night, he and I got up and went to the next room over to make drinks. We could still see them but they weren't really facing us and were deep in conversation. He and I made a couple innocent comments back and forth about how pretty they looked while making cocktails for everyone. I don't know what came over me, but I winked at him and said, "You wanna see mine naked?" His eyes went wide. Yes, he responded. We spent the next few minutes then, and a few other times when we were alone that night, showing each other our wives' nudes on our phones. We must have shown each other 40 or 50. No sending, just showing. All while they sat 20 feet in front of us. It was ridiculous. I realize this is my secret, but it's his too, so I think it counts. Also, no, I will not show the pics for science. No matter how many people make that old joke. Roommate is cheating on his GF with two side girls. Former best friend participated in a boot party where they curb stomped a homeless man to death. She called me drunk the next morning to laugh about the piece of his skull embedded in her boot. I never spoke to her again. I know groupthink is powerful and that the Sharps are basically a gang, but I could never wrap my head around that one. I'll always be grateful that I wasn't there. A holier than thou aunt had a baby when she was around 16 years old after ducking some guy that was passing through the village and took a liking to her. Everything was consensual is what I heard. The baby didn't make it. Apparently the aunt suffocated it and then buried with the help of her mother. All the women in the family know, and when my sister found out she told me, but swore me to secrecy. Can't believe someone I'm related to is capable of something so ducking-y, but that's the world we live in, I suppose. A lot of these are depressing stories of people being accessories to crime and adultery that's ongoing. Not my style. I got a buddy who got kicked out of a bar in the red light district in Sydney, a couple of years ago. He was pissed off, so he went around back to the employee exit and took it outside the doorstep. And by a buddy I mean me. I did that. My partner is HIV positive. We met and started dating right before he found out. I'm negative and have kept it that way. We celebrate 4 years together next month. He's gone through so much. Mentally, emotionally and physically. He fights depression constantly but has gotten better over the years. I'm one of 4 or 5 people who know. His parents don't know. He's beautiful. My CO worker friend is totally cheating on his fiancée with different chicks when she's out of town. I sometimes hang out with her and she gloats so much how much other couples look up to their relationship. I know a guy that found out a 22-year-old was having sex with his 15-year-old daughter. There was some coercion involved. He didn't call the cops because the 22-year-old happens to be the son of a cop. So, one day dad finds Dumbus drunk. Dad proceeds to beat the it out of him, then take a hammer to Dumbus's right hand as a reminder to not touch his daughter again. My understanding is Dumbus said he got jumped by a bunch of guys walking home. Honestly, I'm just impressed Dumbus is still alive. One of my co-workers cheated on her boyfriend with our boss. Now that I think about it, I feel like there might be a lot of this in this thread.